Welcome back to the Amateurs Podcast. I'm Logan.
I'm Rhett.
And this is episode 18, our early season Western Conference NBA preview and tier list. Like all our other tier lists, we have 5 tiers. And like our Eastern Conference one, they're divided into Stone Cold Semi-Locks, Semi-Contender Pretender, Play-In Potential, We Suck, and Capture the Flag, Cooper Flag. It's been a running joke on this channel that I don't know my alphabet.
Exactly.
So I made sure this time we're doing it by city, alphabetically. I got this list off a website. I didn't do it myself, so we should be good to go. And we will start off with the Dallas Mavericks.
Where do you have them?
I have them in tier 2.
As well, tier 2.
Why do you have them in tier 2?
I mean, obviously they have proved they have the potential to reach the finals.
Yeah.
So they're experienced. They have one of the most dynamic duos in all of basketball. I like their additions from last year. I think PJ Washington and Gafford really complement each other. They've obviously we're doing this a few weeks into the season. They've been up and down. I think they're 500 as of this review. It's a strange team. They don't still have a ton of perimeter defense, and they're not especially deep.
Yeah.
But I think they're a solid semi.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a tier 2 team for similar reasons that you did, but the reason, obviously they were the Western Conference champs last year, and the reason I don't have them in that same echelon at the moment is because I didn't like their offseason.
Okay.
They said, we're going all in on bringing back Derrick Jones Jr., and then they didn't bring back Derrick Jones Jr., and then they also lost Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah.
So it's like those are 2 rotation guys that you just didn't really replace.
Well, starter. Jones.
They did get Klay Thompson, though.
Yeah.
And Klay, obviously, so far from what I've seen, he's played very well.
Yeah.
And he does seem like a good fit for those 2 ball-dominant guards. However, it's not the Klay of old on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's still better than Luka, but we did see in that Boston Celtics finals, like, their defense got exposed. But I do think they're, towards the top tier of the West.
Agreed. I think they're a candidate to add a guy like Bruce Brown because I think they have to know what their weakness is, and that's their weakness.
Yes.
And also, although he's been great the last year, there's always potential with Kyrie for something to go off the rails.
No, I think he likes it in Dallas, though.
Well, I'm not even talking about, personality, anything like that. He does have some injury history.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I slotted them a little lower. I have them around 5th.
Okay. I mean, I think they were the 5th seed last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Next team up, we have the Denver Nuggets. I have them tier 2.
As do I.
With me, the big issue with Denver is their front office. They just keep letting pieces go and go and go. Like, they won the championship, let Bruce Brown walk. Now they let KCP walk without bringing back anything.
Yeah.
Of course, they have top 3 player in the world, and you already got a ring out of him, but his prime he's in his prime, but it's not going to last forever.
And the pieces around him are getting weaker and weaker rather than stronger. Yeah. Jamal Murray, everybody's talked about it, didn't look good this summer, hasn't looked good to start of the season, and he's on a max contract. Michael Porter Jr. is on a max contract. I'm not sure his value equals a max contract. Very good player, but I'm not sure he's a max player. And then now Aaron Gordon is out for several weeks.
That seems like the one bright spot, though. Aaron Gordon-Jokic connection is like, it gets stronger every season.
Yes, and you have Jokic, and you have a good coach in Mike Malone.
Yep.
But for some reason, they're afraid of that second apron, and they're relying on young talent.
But they're not getting good draft picks because Jokic is
good.
going to make them good. Like, They drafted Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther.
The only one who's hit is Christian Braun, and
he's a good rotation player.
Rotation player.
Next team on the list has been kind of the surprise team in the West this year. We have Golden State.
Yes, I have them tier 2.
I also have them tier 2, and I probably wouldn't have had them tier 2 to start the season.
I'm a little higher on Golden State than I think a lot of people were. I like the moves they made.
They did have a good offseason.
Buddy Hield, I think, is, if you could choose a guy who's a natural replacement for Klay Thompson, it's Buddy Hield. D'Anthony Melton is a very interesting place. They just have a lot of things to play with.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a Lego set. If you mix and match, you're going to build different things. It'll be interesting to see if there's pressure on them to add a guy. Because they have the pieces to do that. They did a beautiful job of managing their cap. So all credit to them. The questions are, they're a little weak in the front court.
Yeah.
What is Kuminga's role? I think he's coming off the bench.
Coming off the bench.
And how's he going to feel about that, because he's going into a contract year where he can be a restricted free agent. And will the large rotation affect certain egos? Wiggins just started the last game. As of this taping, they beat the Thunder, which was a huge. I mean, they're coming off a Celtics Thunder double.
Well, I mean, we're seeing with Kerr, he's running a 12-man rotation.
Yeah,
which is crazy, but it's like you said, an attest to their off-season acquisitions where they have so many pieces. You wouldn't even talk about Kyle Anderson coming in.
Right.
He's shooting the ball great. They re-signed Gary Payton, but he's been playing good minutes for them.
Yeah.
And their front court depth might not be there, but the Warriors also invented the small ball.
True.
And with Steph there, you got your guy.
Yeah, I think the key to this season, though, is keeping him healthy.
Yeah.
And Wither Wiggins, is he returning to closer to his all-star form?
Yeah.
Or is he what he has been the last couple of years?
Yep. Moving on, we have Houston. I have Houston in tier 3, playing potential.
As do I.
Now, I think this team is, first of all, fun to watch, but I also do think that they're on kind of the right track progression-wise with the young pieces they have. My only why I say kind of is because they have some vets that are blocking the development of these young guys, which we've mentioned on the pod. But those vets are also keeping them competitive. They have Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, getting a lot of minutes there, which kind of blocks the developments of guys like Thompson, Cam Whitmore. But they also have, blossoming young pieces, Jalen Green, Tari Eason, Şengün.
Right.
So I think they could definitely make a play and a run. And I like what they're doing with the acquisition of talent. I just wish they would let those young guys shine a little bit more. And Reed Shepherd, too. He's backing up Fred VanVleet.
I don't even know if he's primary backup. He's not getting a ton of minutes.
Which is crazy because he was a 3rd overall pick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, as an organization, you have all these pieces, but why are you not letting your 3rd overall pick get the run?
Yeah, and you're also seeing another high pick, Jabari Smith, struggle to get shots. The other day he had 7 shots, and that's what he's there to do, is score.
Mm-hmm.
This team, I love the coach. I love certain of the pieces. Wholeheartedly agree that their roster construction is blocking youth development. I've heard a lot of talk that they're going to be active in the trade market, and they would be a destination for a guy like, if it happens, Giannis, because they have the pieces.
They do have the pieces, and that would be interesting to think about. Are they saving these pieces in a Thunder type of way, or are they collecting them to ship them out and get a star?
Well, not even draft picks, but they have. You could trade a Thompson.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The pieces itself.
Right. Yeah, I got
you. The Thunder is kind of a farm system where all those guys are homegrown.
Agreed.
But you had them tier 3.
Yeah, I have them tier 3. I also worry about their playoff experience, which is, other than VanVleet and some guys, not much. So if they get in, I don't expect a run. But I think solidly tier 3.
Next up, we have the LA Clippers. I have these guys tier 4.
As do I.
Yeah. All right. So we've agreed on everything so far. I think, the issue with the Clippers, they're old, injury prone, have no direction as a team as to what they're doing. But they still have enough experience to not be, complete tankers.
But that could happen. I mean, you're resting on two guys who have extensive injury profiles. They're depending on right now James Harden, and he's played well ish, not Houston
Obviously.
James Harden, more early Nets James Harden. When he said in the preseason, this is going to depend on me, that scares the heck out of me. You have seen Norman Powell play really well, exceptionally.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have Kawhi. Don't know when they're going to have Kawhi. I mean, let's address for a second this whole Olympics nonsense where he's on the team. He was hurt in the postseason. They put him on the Olympics team, and the Olympics guys say, you're not healthy. And then the GM for the Clippers comes out and attacks the Olympics guys. Says he's healthy enough.
And he's not ready to go.
He was never healthy.
Yeah.
That was complete and utter tripe.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're really lost as an organization.
Yeah.
They have no real young guys coming up.
Who?
I said none.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Kai Jones coming back.
And they don't have the draft picks.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you could move a Norman Powell for something. I think he's coveted. Ish. But, I mean, not.
Yeah, but he's not a young, he's like 28.
Yeah, I'm saying, but would you trade if you're, say, the Bucks, let's say?
Yeah.
And they had it, they can't do it, but if they had that pick, first round pick, would they do it? Would the Lakers? He does not fit with the Lakers, but they have draft picks. Yeah. That's the type of thing. Is he worth a first round pick? Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah. I just think they're, like we've mentioned before with the Bulls and mediocrity, but like you have Kawhi Leonard and you're stuck in mediocrity. It's just like not a good place.
No, and it's a shame because they opened this arena.
Yeah, I've heard it's awesome. Yeah.
It's the worst team to open an arena that you can think of.
No excitement right there. Going across the street to the LA Lakers, I also have them in tier 3.
Agreed.
Yes, so far we're like 7 for 7. With LeBron, AD, you're always going to be at least playing potential. But that's about it for me. They kind of ran it back from last year, which JJ Redick has been he's looked good in his coaching debut so far.
Ish.
The start of the season especially.
Yeah, the problem with the Lakers, when they decided to run it back, they were dependent on some recovery from injury from some of their role players. And having AD and LeBron play in almost a historic amount of games.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen. They're both, I mean, LeBron he's a specimen, but he's 40 and he's had injuries in the last few years.
And AD's injury prone.
And I think he's leading the league in scoring.
Yeah,
he's looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then, what else?
Yeah. And also, you get games like with AD, they just played Memphis and AD didn't play. LeBron had 40, but they still lost by 15.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to have both of those guys for them to be... And when both of those guys are healthy, they can win any game.
Right. Yeah,
but it's
in a playoff setting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be scary.
But I
don't know if they're going to get there.
Yeah.
And also, what's been surprised early season is Dalton Knecht, who I thought would be an immediate contributor,
I agree,
is not an immediate contributor.
Yeah. So now we have the Memphis Grizzlies. I have them tier 2.
As do I, and they are, to me, the swing. Could they be tier 1? I don't think so, but they're solidly. I think they're in the top 6 for sure.
Yeah, I think they're probably higher than that. They're a really good team, especially with Ja healthy and Ja playing like the all-NBA type of guy he is. And then we had Jaren Jackson, has been really good to start the season. Zach Edey has been a very solid pick so far with that pick and roll and just as a lob threat, and he hasn't been super exposed on defense. Who else they got? I mean, Desmond Bain.
Desmond Bain's hurt, but he's a a borderline all-star.
Yeah. Good player. 20-point game score for sure.
Yeah, and they've got some young guys that could come on. They got Clark back, who's a good rotation player.
The guy Jalen Wells, their draft pick out of Washington State, has been pretty impressive. Was he a second round or a late first?
I think he might have been at the end.
He's been pretty impressive for sure.
And we actually, if you go back to our rankings, I think I definitely had him first round pick, and I think he was high on your list ish.
I don't think so.
Okay,
you get the credit there.
I'll take.
There you go.
And here's we don't do this often, but throw your money on Zach Edey, Rookie of the Year.
You think so? There's no other competition. Reese Shea did have a really good game recently.
Yeah, but it's been up and down.
Yeah, but if he can figure it out. But yeah, I mean, this rookie class has been
as we predicted.
Yeah, I mean, we did predict that. Next year, hopefully, we'll make up for all of it.
Yeah.
If you're keeping up with how college basketball has been going, there are some really, really good-looking guys. Pause.
Went full Diddy again.
All right, next up, we have Minnesota Timberwolves. I have them tier 2, but I have something to say about this. Oh, you have them tier 1?
Okay.
I do not like the move. I thought the Knicks won the trade because they got DiVincenzo and they got Randall. I don't love those pieces fitting, and they're not playing two guys who can help them right away. And maybe not Rob, but Terrence Shannon. Rob's an 8th overall pick though, and he's getting no burn. Just put him in the G League, but it's because they acquired DiVincenzo.
Right, who's been solid.
No, him and Randall are really good NBA players, but first of all, I don't understand why you made it to game 7 of the Western Conference Finals last year with your roster, and Ant is only going to get better. Why trade Cat? Now, I liked it from the Knicks' perspective because they had to get rid of Randall eventually because there was just a blockage there, and they turned it into the best shooting big of all time and like an all-star in Cat. I don't understand, though, why Minnesota felt the need to blow it up. And it seemed like Cat was taken aback by it, like it caught him completely off guard. And they haven't been great to start the season. I think at the time of the recording, they're 6 or 7-4, which is not bad, but...
Well, I think this is a team, when you have significant turnover and you're integrating two pieces...
The chemistry isn't there yet.
You have to work on that.
But my whole point is there shouldn't have to be a need for new chemistry. They should have ran it back from last year.
I don't think they love their depth. Naz Reid has not played exceptionally well to start the season, which is a surprise. I like it to an extent because Randall, although he's not a plus defender, he's a better defender than Cat on the perimeter.
Yeah.
So they become more of a...
But I don't think perimeter defense is what they needed to improve because they had Nickeil Alexander-Walker off the bench, McDaniels off the bench, Ant is a good defender. And then, of course, down low you have Rudy.
Right, and now they add DiVincenzo, who's a plus defender.
Yeah, but I don't think that defense was their weak point last year.
No, I agree. I just think it's an integration situation. I think that once they figure out who takes what shots, who goes where, if Randall plays well on the perimeter and can spell Rudy or Naz can come in, I like that interchange. They've got a lot of depth now. And if Conley stays healthy, you've got an Ant, one of the best players in the league. Yeah. Just forget Young, one of the best.
Yeah.
I think they'll get better, and they've proved they can go deep.
Yeah, I disagree with their offseason approach. Obviously, they'll still be a high-ranking team in the West, but I think they could have been a lot better. Next up, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. Where do you have them?
You go first.
I'm tier 4.
As am I.
Yeah. What's holding me back from putting them tier 5 is that they actually still have good NBA players.
Right. They're just
always
not playing.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
always injured. Zion strained his hamstring. He's out for an indefinite amount of time.
Murray.
DeJounte Murray, first game of the year, broke his wrist. CJ McCollum, has he been playing?
He's
been the only guy.
inconsistent.
Yeah, and then Ingram.
This is team turmoil for me.
They have talent.
Oh, if they're 1 through 7 or 8 is healthy, they're not tier 4.
No,
like they're tier 2 solidly. The problem is Zion is almost never healthy. Ingram has some injuries. The Murray injury is fluke. He's not injury prone.
But I mean, a broken wrist, the first game of the season, that's unlucky.
Yeah, Jones has been out. I mean, think about that. And Trey Murphy, who they re-signed. 1 through 7,
they're pretty good.
Wow.
And but they were going with that small ball lineup, which I was intrigued by. But now we're not going to get to see it because no one's healthy.
Right. Yeah. Now the interesting thing is the Ingram situation. I believe he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. Now they have his bird rights, so he could get the higher contract with the Pelicans, but they didn't offer him the money he wanted.
I'm intrigued to see what he'll do. I think he's like one of those upgraded Kuzma type of players.
I think he's better than Kyle Kuzma.
I said upgraded. I think he's an all-star occasionally.
Yeah. When healthy and firing.
But I don't know, like on a playoff team, like I can definitely see him going to his equivalent of Washington and averaging 25 like he has been for the Pelicans and not being on a great team.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to have to run it back next year with or without Ingram. They don't have the pieces to now trade because they use that with the Murray trade.
Yeah.
I mean, do you offer somebody Ingram and Jones for some other coveted player? I don't know who that is, and I don't know that you would do that. But it's good luck to the GM.
For our viewers on Twitter, you probably know this type of comparison I want to make. I want to hear your opinions on this. Zion Williamson is the Michael Jordan of Jonathan Isaacs. Actually, he's the LeBron James of Jonathan Isaacs.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought you were going to. My comparison would be he's the Grant Hill. But when he's healthy, he's
the Grant Hill. Yeah, I mean
it's crazy.
But he has Jonathan Isaacs level durability.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Fair.
It's true. Next up, we have OKC. The only issue with OKC, this happened last night. Chet fractured his hip.
It's a for sure fracture.
Yeah. They did say they expect him to return this season, but he will be reevaluated in 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's big loss for them. Without Chet, they're still a playoff team, but with Chet, they're the favorites in the West. So that is really big news. I still have them tier 1 because if he does come back, you know what I mean, all bets are off there.
Yeah, and it's terrible timing because the one piece I wanted them to add, and I think the Spurs have to do this, is to add a traditional big who can.
Well, Hartenstein's going to be,
but he's still out.
Yeah. Once he comes back.
So the timing is bad. They're going to suffer now.
Yeah. But also, they're running like a micro ball lineup. It's actually one of their more successful lineups where they go all guards, and because they have such versatility with Caruso, Lou Dort.
Yeah.
Shea gets a lot of steals.
Jalen
Williams plus defender, so they can afford to run a couple small ball lineups here and there, and with their talent on the perimeter, I think they should be able to hold off, this blow.
Right.
Better than a lot of teams. Until Hartenstein comes back.
Let me shoot a trade at you.
Okay.
Would you trade Jalen Williams plus stuff, picks?
Both Jalen Williams.
Whatever the salary is for Giannis.
For Giannis?
Now, it's going to have to be a steep draft pick and probably some.
How long is Giannis under contract for?
A few years.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
that's ridiculous. Especially if Chet came. I don't think the Bucks would ever do that, but There's no shot they would do that
Well, as of this tape,
unless you gave him 18 first-round picks, which the Thunder do have.
they could.
Yeah.
As of this taping, the Bucks are 2-8.
Yeah.
And I'd like to remove them from tier 2.
Yeah.
We're gonna edit that.
Yeah.
But that's a
We'll
separate
cut this part out of the video so you guys will never know.
combination.
But yeah, that's OKC, and let's go to Phoenix. I'm assuming this is our second disagreement. Where do you have them?
Tier 1.
I have them tier 2.
Okay.
Now, this is directly as a result of the Kevin Durant injury.
Yeah.
However, Kevin Durant injury is not something that I did not foresee. They are old.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of depth. So one of their guys getting injured is super predictable. However, they're tier 2 for me, and I'm a fan of their offseason acquisitions with Tyus Jones, and then the draft pick of Ryan Dunn has been a great pick so far. But yeah, just their age and injuries, I can't put them tier 1.
I got it. Understand it. I do have concerns because Beal and Durant have that injury history. Tyus Jones was an immense pickup.
Yeah.
At the minimum. Come on.
I don't know how other teams let that happen.
I'm not sure why Washington didn't re-sign him if they knew they could get him so cheap. But okay, the Washington Wizards are a different level. Yes, injuries concern me. However, they were early season. They were cooking. And if they get healthy at the right time in the playoffs, this is a dangerous
team. 100%. But if they get healthy, it's big asterisk.
Agree.
Next up, we're going to have like not a great stretch coming here. We have Portland. Where do you have Portland?
Poo-poo.
Tier 5?
Tier 5.
Yeah, I also have them tier 5. You know, I think I'm really upset because I was so wrong on Scoot Henderson.
Well, the talent is intriguing here. I looked at them last year.
I don't think they're trying to tank. I'll tell you. I do not think with their roster construction, they're trying to capture the flag.
I mean, look at the guys they have. They have Ayton,
yeah,
right, who has played well at times, but not now. They have a defensive stopper in Williams, who's obviously mega hurt always. Then you have Jeremy Grant, whose timeline does not fit this, but I'm not sure he's movable. Who's a very intriguing, almost 3-and-D type guy, not quite. Then you've got some young guards in Sharp and Anthony that are, coming on and play well. Now you've got Scoot. Scoot has not been.
I thought he was going to be Russell Westbrook first year in the league, man.
Yeah, well.
And we haven't seen any of that.
But this roster it's obvious they are not able to compete.
Yeah, but they're trying to.
They're trying
because
to.
They also got Avdia.
They do. They trade.
Who's
a
serviceable, good NBA player.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're trying to do. It's never a good spot when you're trying to win and then losing. We have a couple teams coming up that are not trying to win and are successful at it.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher out there. Really, it's kind of like New Orleans. If you look at their roster, you're like, wow, this is not bad. But you also have to remember who's the star.
Yeah.
And who has the potential to be a star. And I'm not sure that's on that roster.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Sacramento. I have them tier 3.
As do I.
I think they've been tier 3 for the past couple of years. On paper, they got the talent. The West is super deep. They're going to be fighting for the 8th seed.
I don't understand it. It's a well-constructed roster.
Yeah.
They have shooting. They're not especially good defensively, but they're okay. You add a DeMar DeRozan who gives you a different look.
Yep.
But I think he also interferes with Sabonis. I don't know how those two interchange because, Sabonis is sort of a high post player. And so is DeRozan.
I don't think that's their main concern. It's just...
So what is their concern? They have a borderline all-star in De'Aaron Fox who's been snubbed repeatedly. Yeah. You have an all-star in Sabonis. Yeah. You have a perennial
all-star
in DeMar.
And you got
Monk, who's a 6-man of the year. Herder, who's back and is
Murray.
a shooter. And you have Murray. It's why?
I think like they have good pieces, but it's gonna sound harsh. Like their pieces aren't good enough. Like we've seen the Fox Sabonis duo for past 4 years now, and they put up numbers on paper. They're really good, but it's just like they're not good enough.
Yeah, a few years ago, they were second in the West.
I don't think going into the playoffs.
No.
I do not remember that.
Yeah, they finished second in the West, I think,
They
3
lost
years
to the
ago.
Warriors.
Yeah.
But the Warriors.
They lost to the Warriors.
I don't think the Warriors are. I know they made the playoffs, but I just don't think they're good enough. Like you can't. Shooting, maybe. But there's not like a real issue here where it's like, okay, they're not good at that. It has to be that they're not good enough.
Yeah, I don't think they're defensively sound. There's not a guy other than Fox. What's his nickname? Swipa.
Yeah, I mean they traded our boy Off Night.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
No, they're not defensively great. They have maybe defense is their issue, but it's just like.
The problem with them is, what do you do? I mean, obviously, you're going to play out the season. You're not going to make a move. But where do you go? You have to then figure out, okay, of the big two, which one has to move on? Because you're right. It's not enough.
Yeah. And then no disrespect to those players because they're good.
Yeah.
To compete in the West, to really compete in the West, not just make the play-in. But yeah, we both had them tier 3. Now we have San Antonio Spurs. I have them tier 4.
As do I.
And I think they're on obviously the upward trend, and I don't think they're trying to suck, but just they have a lot of young guys, and some questionable pieces, but they're getting better.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of indisputable that they're getting better.
Yeah, I mean, you have a future, if not now, superstar in Wemby. So you have to build around him. The problem is you added a point guard.
That I love that acquisition.
I do not.
I think the Chris Paul acquisition was a perfect move for the Spurs.
Here's the problem. He's only played about 60 games the last 4 years or so since becoming vegetarian. And yeah, if he's healthy on the court, yeah, he's an ideal fit. But
They're
you
paying
had
him nothing.
But
You're talking about Tyus?
Tyus Jones.
Yeah, well, we can't criticize every team that didn't pick up Tyus Jones.
But this was a team that was screaming out.
Yeah. Maybe him and his brother have beef, and they picked Trey.
It could be, but that he would have been a cost-controlled option, for the same money you're paying Chris Paul.
Yeah, I hear you, but it's also like they still got Chris Paul, who's like the perfect guy. Everyone last year was like, they don't pass Wemby the ball.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna give him the second best passer of all time.
Right. Again, when he's healthy, and the problem is Victor, is body type. I mean, he played a lot last year, but body type. This is a guy who is an injury risk.
Knock on wood.
No, I love his talent. He's
unbelievable.
He's an outer space guy. But then you separate that, right? Just separate Paul and Wembanyama. You have a vet in Harrison Barnes, okay, but he's on the downside. What else about this roster do you like?
Oh, no. This was not based on anything but with Victor.
Right.
And nothing will ever be based on anything but Victor in San Antonio. He is
the guy.
He has GOAT potential. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I do not like the other pieces, and like I think Keldon Johnson doesn't really do anything. Devin Vassell, like we saw last year, Sochan, no,
and he's hurt now.
Yeah, but I mean, when Victor is going to develop, we saw it last year. Every game he got better.
Yeah.
And then you give him someone to pass him the ball. And that's why I have him tier 4.
Yeah, I just, I'm very worried about them. I think they need a traditional center to take some of the pressure off Wemby.
Not a fan of Zach Collins?
Gonzaga legend. You need a long-term option at point guard. You need another guy who's better than Johnson.
We are.
of the
I
South.
do have to say, Steph Castle, like him a lot.
Yeah, he's played well. The issue with Steph Castle is not defense; it's shooting.
Yeah, but
And
I
he's
think
shot well so
yeah.
far.
Yeah, we might have been a little harsh on the other guys. I like Steph Castle a lot. But yeah,
But again, and I've heard a lot of talk that they're a playoff team. Well, I
that's crazy.
doubt it. But are they a move away? I mean, forget a Giannis move, but like a Brandon Ingram away from being a tier 2 team. I'm not saying he's ideal, but just
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't like the rest of their roster
No.
besides a couple guys. But they just played the last team on our list in the battle of battle of trash.
Yeah.
Utah Jazz, far and away tier 5.
Agreed.
They're the bottom of the West for sure. But they're tanking. Except they did just beat the Spurs, but they're kind of doing it the right way.
Yeah, I joked after the Utah win over the Spurs, is Will Hardy fired? I mean, they still have assets that they could trade. Jordan Clarkson is screaming out to play on an actually relevant team like the Bulls. No, I'm joking. But they've got
Lauri Markkanen. So many teams want Lauri.
but he can't be moved until I think after January or at all this year. It was the right move to re-sign him. No problem there. He's still young.
They just drafted 3 guys in the first round this year.
Yeah.
So they're gonna let them rock out.
This is a team in the summer league.
Oh, they're gonna
rolled
be
out,
summer league legends, man.
and they didn't. They were inconsistent.
I'm saying
before.
next year. They'll be summer league legends next year.
Yeah, I mean, they impeded, unfortunately, the development of Hendricks when he broke his leg.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. South Florida guy we've seen a lot of. I don't. There's not an individual draft pick I love there, but there's guys that I really like there.
Yeah, Collier I think has the potential to be really solid NBA player. He's got things to work on, but the floor is there.
Yeah, I think Utah has to figure it out and say, all right, let's gut our roster.
Well, I mean, they got 6 guys I would keep in terms of the long-term development. And the 3 draft pick, Collier, Filipowski, Williams. Hendricks when he comes back. Keontae George, who's been injured right now, but he's really good. And then maybe Bryce Sensabaugh, because he was a first-rounder last year.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's within, I think Keontae, there's 6 first-rounders in the last 2 years. Keep them.
I think Filipowski was second, but you're close.
He's borderline.
Borderline first. Agreed.
Keep them.
Yeah.
Get rid of everyone else. Just keep adding young guys. Throw it at the wall until it figures it
You
out.
keep Kessler, who's a
Keep
ring
Kessler,
protector.
you have 7 young guys who have potential. Keep them.
Right. And then
Jordan Clarkson, you can move for a young guy.
right.
Lori-
Collins.
John Collins, he does not fit the timeline at all.
No.
But they're tanking, clearly, and this is the draft class to tank. This seems like a really good draft class, and if they can get a multiple first round haul type of deal, then a couple of years, we're like, they did it right.
Right. And if they tank successfully, not this year, but next year, isn't the top pick a Utah kid?
He's not from Utah.
But he's playing in
He's
Utah.
playing in Utah, and he might go to BYU.
Right. So interesting developments.
Yeah.
But
Now we're talking.
right. Now, you get one of those
Yeah.
top 3 guys and then you add him.
Yeah.
Then, okay, let's roll it out.
If we go to the Utah Jazz headquarters right now, there is a giant board with red string everywhere.
Right.
I've heard some rumors about why that kid is playing in Utah and what money is being funneled, and there might be some connection to the Jazz.
Yeah, they're unfortunately they know their direction, but you have to get to that direction.
Yeah, which is why they suck now. Then no, they're not even in the we suck category. They're in the capture the flag category.
But they beat a we suck team.
They did beat. Oh, we got our rankings are messed up, man.
I tell you, if I'm the Utah Jazz owner, GM, and a guy has a big game, he's not playing the
You're
next
cut,
day.
buddy.
Yeah.
Colin Sexton, stop trying to score 30.
Yeah, well, Sexton's another guy, although he comes off the bench, but he sort of impedes some of that young guy development,
Yeah.
George and
Collier.
Yeah.
But that was our Western Conference early season tier list and preview in complete alphabetical order. I was looking at my computer the whole time to make sure. And if you disagree in the comments, which I'm sure you did, we only had a few disagreements. Let us know.
But let's just preview. Coming up, we're going to look at early season developments. There's been some surprises. That Gonzaga-Baylor result was confusing. And then the Arizona State game against Gonzaga was confusing.
A lot of teams are figuring some stuff out right now. We'll definitely hit you with some college basketball content coming up. And, of course, continue to cover the NBA as stuff happens.
Where you have, I think both teams were in our tier 2, a combined 4 wins for the Sixers and Bucks.
Yeah.
So you've got some, and you got injuries, major injuries to cover. Holmgren, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's been an early season full and chock full.
Yeah. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys when we see you.
And in honor of Chris Jericho, bye guys.
Peace.